All right, in the second half of the video, I'm going to discuss three passports, three residencies which lead to citizenships, which, in my opinion, are World War III proof. Almost, right? Almost is so secluded. And you want a citizenship. You want a citizenship. You want to trigger a residency. A residency is particularly important. You don't want visa free access once the war starts. That is something that starts falling apart as soon as possible. Countries would block citizens from certain nations from entering, then forget about the residency till the situation goes back to normal. Therefore, once you have the residency, you have the rights to enter, you stay there for some time and quickly convert into citizenship. So that's going to be the second half. Before that, the all important, why does President Putin, want you to be citizen? Now, there has been a long history of Westerners naturalizing in Russia for whatever reason, right? We don't want to get into their specific reason. Each one has their own reasons. I'm not recommending any of this stuff. This is news coverage. So a couple of the major historic cases, you had Steven Seagal awarded the Russian citizenship. So a lot of high-profile bigwigs. Recently, you had a couple of major hockey players, one from US, one from Canada, acquiring Russian citizenship. Very controversially, President Putin opened the floodgates. He has made a free Russian citizenship for all for satisfying some minor criteria. Before, it had some heavy military criteria. Now he has just opened it up. And in case you're curious what that is, I made a couple of videos covering this news. You can go check that out. But the reason why, obviously, any country would want, or let's say forward-looking country, right? Country that wants to, is, let's say, trying to get into conflict or is in conflict and they want to flex their muscles, they would ideally want more citizens, not less. You saw the famous example of Turkey, right? Historically, traditionally, these countries try to minimize the citizens. They acquired some dual citizenship. They would chop off their original citizenship, but no longer the case in this new era. You want more citizens. You want powerful citizens. Now, I was recently in talks with, and this is something very interesting with, even with a European nation that is in the formation. I was recently in talks with the president of this tiny non-EU European country. According to their president, the passport has some vital access to some interesting Plan B countries, 45 Plan B countries. And if you've missed my coverage, my discussion with the president of this tiny European nation, you can return and take a look at this video. This is in its early stages, but the citizenship is the cheapest in the world, obviously once, and then I don't recommend this. It's just what it is, right? Few people are enthusiasts and they would go for it. A couple of major heavyweight YouTubers have craved for the citizenship. They've actually gone there, gotten those citizenships. A couple of heavy politicians from the US and other Western politicians have acquired this citizenship. So there must be something that these guys must have found in this. Not for the usual person, right? A usual person would want to spend their money and instantly get some access. This is more of a future investment, taking the gamble. If it becomes something big, then you have locked in your options at much cheaper. So getting back to the previous point, all these nations are going to want more citizens and not less. So with Turkey, with the citizenship program, again, a mass inflow of citizens. They purchased the properties and got Turkish nationality. Same deal with Russia. A lot of Nepalis and other people too. I'm stressing Nepalis because they really went there in droves to participate in the Russian cause, and they, in order to get the Russian citizenship, and there are several other ethnicities and nationalities from all over the world who flocked to grab that opportunity. Again, nothing that I recommend or don't recommend. Now let's deep dive into the whole conflict and the war situation, right? The Israel-Palestine war that is going on. Interestingly, Israel isn't stopping what they're doing. It's killing a lot of civilians, right or wrong. We're not going to get into that. But what's happening is, obviously, as everyone knows, needless to say that Iran might join in. It's just anyone's guess. Anytime they could join in. Russia is clearly on the side of Iran. So it's all going to be US, Israel versus, let's say, Iran, Gaza, the Palestine. Eventually you would have Russia entering in if things escalate. And a lot of experts believe this is just a matter of time. This all starts once it's starts happening, more allies, more participants join in on both sides. So it's clearly going to be the Arab world that's going to unite together to participate in the cause. And if this escalates, and we hope it doesn't, because it's going to affect us, and we don't want any World War III type of situation. We clearly hope it doesn't happen, but let's say it happens. Then you want to be in a spot which is for sure no one's going to touch that, and you want this spot to give you citizenship, because then if you're going to get a residency and stay there, it should give you a passport at the end of the day. And I'm going to discuss three options, right, which are going to be left alone, in my opinion. And this is not immigration advice, this is my personal opinion. And the first one I believe is Mauritius. Literally, it's not participating in any war. No one is going to go and bother Mauritius in the Africas. So I think that is a pretty safe and a neat location for someone who is looking to not only get the residency, get the citizenship if you're looking for that, and also a strong, solid passport, a safe location, a peaceful location, a beautiful location. With Mauritius, you have very flexible options. I'm not going to go through all the details, but there are three options. One is you pay $1,000 in application fees in either of those. You can either purchase a property of a certain value. The second option is either if you're over 50, you can just directly qualify. There's not much needed there. And then if you want to start a business, then you can also qualify for the Mauritian residency. If you satisfy certain criteria, after 2 years, you can actually go ahead and apply for citizenship. That's the first one, which is clearly going to be left alone. A lot of people will agree with me. The second is a hidden gem. It's a beautiful country, and this president who I spoke to also, it happens to be his favorite. It's one of my favorite. I have a lot of favorites. So Dominican Republic is a hot option. It's a safe option. If you look at Punta Cana village, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Any time spent there is worth it. Citizenship is interesting, gets you countries like Brazil, Russia, gets you Japan. Not a lot of passports get those kind of combinations, so this one does. It's a very interesting exotic passport, just 2 years, and you can actually apply for citizenship. You start off with a permanent residency. It's a low-hanging fruit. The criteria is very flexible. We discussed this. Most of our clients are very interested in this part of the world. It's a very connected airport, so it's very beneficial to travel back and forth if you're, let's say, in the US, Canada. So it has great connectivity. And as I said, in 2 years, the flexible residency, so you don't have the headache of some of the other countries where you have to physically reside for a very long time in order to naturalize. Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. So that's the second one. I would not say Mexico in this scenario, because you have the Hezbollah setups in Mexico. You don't know how that spans. If it's between the West and those areas, it might get caught up in some shape or form. So I'm not going to say Mexico, but I am going to say Serbia. And Serbia, because it's not Russia. So let's say even if it supports it, I don't see a big straight away threat to that part of the world. It's pretty neutral. It's pretty connected to the European countries in a way. It has access to the EU, right? So that it has its relationships with Europe, which is Western. It projects itself to be more of a European country. So you have that peace of mind. Yet at the same time, it has its own connections and its relations with Russia. So Russia ain't attacking Serbia, right? So it's kind of very unique, very interesting. I personally like Serbia is because they have relaxed their rules. Their laws have become very favorable according to the newest draft. They have reduced it to 3 years, right? So before it was 5, now they're looking at 3. And if you, let's say, purchase a property, any value, 20K, 25K, whatever you want to get, a decent property in Serbia, after 3 years, you can simply apply for your citizenship. And you can, obviously, you got to get the permanent, but immediately after permanent, you can hop onto the citizenship. I've made a very detailed video of how you could do this. There's also something called citizenship by exception that is heavily used in Serbia. A lot of people have been able to obtain their passports. With citizenship by exception, there is no, you don't have to satisfy some of the other criteria. There's no residency, etc. You can directly pretty much apply for citizenship if you qualify under that. That's not for everyone. That's for a limited set of people, but that's an option as well. So I think these 3 countries are the safest when it comes to a World War III situation. And the sooner you get started on this, the sooner you can capitalize. These things don't happen when there's actual issue going on. These have to be well planned, well thought, and done now. So you have secured your option. And if you predict or if you think there's something going to go wrong, you go to these countries because you're physically spending some time. You're eventually anyways going to look at your solid, powerful citizenships. You're not only getting safety, getting bang for the buck. Then eventually you're also going to benefit by getting that citizenship if you're interested in that. And this is an important conversation I'm having with a lot of my clients. We have attorneys in all the places that I've mentioned. So it's not just about finalizing or having the conversation or answering your questions. It's about getting you started with these residencies in whichever location best suits, or all the locations, right? A lot of people like to do this in multiple places. So you can stack these up and have all these benefits started at the same time. If you are interested, you can always click the link, book a call. We can discuss and get you started. I hope you like this video. If you could give me a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of the important information as it happens, and catch you in the next one.